2 NFL player props here over on PrizePicks for Sunday, September 21st, you guys, week 3 of the NFL season. We got a massive NFL slate here for NFL Sunday, week 3. Before I get started, you guys, take a look in the description below. Top link in the description. You guys hop into the Discord. It's where I post all the plays that I'm making on PrizePicks. We have other caps in there as well. Super positive community. Currently doing a promo right now for first-time members. 20% off your first month using promo code TUFF with the link in the description below. Comes out to like $6 for the full first 30 days in the Discord. But yeah, let's get into this video. Again, Sunday, September 21st. I don't want to waste any time. I want to kind of continue to make these videos as brief and concise as possible. I know like a lot of YouTubers try to make their videos at least 10 minutes long for the ad revenue, but that is not my concern or priority whatsoever. But let's get right into it. 2 player props here. Both player props that I'm looking at here are going to be reception target lines or just targets. But yeah, let's get into it. First line I'm looking at here is going to be Jamar Chase over 9 reception targets. We just saw, obviously Joe Burrow is out, right, with the toe injury. Jake Browning is going to be the starter. And we saw last week with Jake Browning playing almost the entire second quarter and almost all of the rest of the game. Jamar Chase saw 16 targets in that one. Obviously ran 50-plus routes. Finished with 36.5 PPR fantasy points, but 16 total targets for Jamar Chase in that game against Jacksonville. And in this one, I think he gets even a better matchup. We look at last season versus the wide receiver position with the same defensive coordinator in Brian Flores. The Vikings allowed the 3rd most total targets per game to opposing wide receivers in all of the National Football League, right? So they allowed 407 total targets to opponent wide receivers, and it makes sense, right, because of the blitz packages that Brian Flores calls for and their run-stop defense. Again, it just creates for more passing attempts and then obviously more targets for wide receivers. But like I said, Jake Browning, we look at last season, Jake Browning game log with Jamar Chase, 8 targets, 11 targets, and 11 targets. We look at wide receivers last season versus the Minnesota Vikings. I mean, we saw 10 different wide receivers last year finish with 10-plus targets against the Minnesota Vikings. And then again, another 13 total wide receivers finished with 9 or more total targets against the Minnesota Vikings. I just like this spot here for Jamar Chase in a game which should be ultra competitive. I think we're taking a look at this matchup here. Actually, let's see the lineups really quickly. I do think this game is expected to be close. It's going to be Carson Wentz versus Jake Browning indoors as well, which I think does help Jamar Chase's line as well. I mean, just given the upside with weather not being a factor, and games are usually a little bit more competitive and higher scoring, right, when they're indoors. But I think it's like a 2.5 point spread. Should be some decent scoring opportunities for both teams in this one. But I like this spot here a lot for Jamar Chase, who has shown really. I mean, look at in his career. Over in 7 of his last 10 games, going back to last season. Last season was over in 9 of 17, but really turned it up. He missed it in the entire training camp last year, but again, the last half of the season pretty much saw 9 targets in every single game. Like I said, 7 of 10 going back to last season, and then in this season, 5 targets in that tough matchup against Cleveland, and then 16 last week against Jacksonville. But like I said, 9 targets here in a strong matchup versus the Minnesota Vikings. It should be just a strong upside overall, I think, for Jamar Chase. The second one here is going to be another reception targets line that I'm looking at. It's going to be Troy Franklin, wide receiver for the Broncos. Again, I think this is a sneaky spot here for a player like Troy Franklin. If you take a look here at his receptions or his reception targets line, he's finished with 4 and 8 targets last week against Indianapolis. This is receptions. So he finished with 4 receptions and then 8 receptions in these last 2 weeks, right? So obviously bodes well for his targets. He's actually seen 6 and 9 targets over the last 2 weeks. So again, push or higher in the 2 weeks this season. But I like this spot here a lot. He is juiced decently over 3.5 receptions here, minus 162 on Caesars. But what's key for me here is a couple things. So we look at Troy Franklin in the position he plays on the field. He's ran 49% of snaps this season out of the slot, right? 49%. That's the most on the Broncos. The second most on the Broncos is Evan Ingram, who is out for this matchup. That's the next. So there's 33 slot snaps open for Troy Franklin to grab. I can see him, pushing north of 60+ slot snaps in this matchup. And again, the Chargers have really been exploited this season versus wide receivers in the slot. We look at Marquise Brown, 16 targets, and Jacoby Myers, 12 targets, right? And we look at how those players line up in the slot. Jacoby Myers in the slot. Let's look at this really quickly here. 72% of his snaps have come in the slot. And then obviously Hollywood Brown, primarily a slot player as well, 52. So again, we talk about slot, players that play in the slot, players that have played in the slot versus the Chargers this season have dominated. Again, the Chargers don't want to give up big plays, which I think allows for checkdowns and just shorter A-dot type of throws, which again gives that upside for the targets for Troy Franklin. And he really has become that kind of favorite target for Bo Nix. Anyways, an indoor matchup, like I said, Marquise Brown 16 and Jacoby Myers 12. Both doubled, and if not tripled, the line for Troy Franklin, and both these players play primarily in the slot. We know Troy Franklin, like I said, Evan Ingram is out. Just so much upside for Troy Franklin in this one. I like the upside a lot. So 2 player props for this YouTube video, Sunday, September 21st, NFL PrizePicks. Please drop a like, you guys, hit the subscribe button, and as always, let's cash.